The Lord be with you. Listen now to a reading from the Holy Gospel according to Matthew. That same day, Jesus went out of the house and sat beside the sea, and great crowds gathered about him, so that he got into a boat and sat there, and the whole crowd stood on the beach. And he told them many things in parables, saying, A sower went out to sow, and as he sowed, some seeds fell along the path, and the birds came and devoured them. Other seeds fell on rocky ground, where they had not much soil, and immediately they sprang up, since they had no depth of soil, but when the sun rose, they were scorched, and since they had no root, they withered away. Other seeds fell upon thorns, and the thorns grew up and choked them. Other seeds fell on good soil and brought forth a grain, some 100-fold, some 60, some 30. He who has ears, let him hear. Then the disciples came and said to him, Why do you speak to them in parables? And he answered them, To you it has been given to know the secrets of the kingdom of heaven, but to them it has not been given. For to him who has more will be given, and he will have abundance. But from him who has not, even that what he has will be taken away. This is why I speak to them in parables, because seeing they do not see, and hearing they do not hear, nor do they understand. With them indeed is fulfilled the prophecy of Isaiah, which says, You shall indeed hear, but never understand, and you shall indeed see, but never perceive. For these people's heart is hardened, and their ears are heavy of hearing, and their eyes they have closed, lest they should be perceive with their ears, and hear with their ears, and understand with their hearts, and turn from me to heal them. But blessed are your eyes, for they see, and your ears, for they hear. Truly I say to you, many prophets and righteous men long to see what you see today, and did not see it, and to hear what you hear, and did not hear it. Hear then the parable of the sower. When anyone hears the word of the kingdom and does not understand it, the evil one comes and snatches away what is sown in his heart. This is what was sown along the path. And for what was sown on rocky ground, this is he who hears the word and immediately receives it with joy, yet he has no root in himself, but endures for a while. And then tribulation, persecutions arises on account of the word. Immediately he falls away. As for what was sown among thorns, this is he who hears the word, but the cares of the world and the delight in riches choke the word, and it proves unfruitful. As for what was sown on good soil, this is he who hears the word and understands it, and he indeed bears fruit and yields, in one case 100-fold, in another 60, in another 30. The gospel of the Lord. Today's gospel is a little bit difficult for me to preach for two reasons. The first reason is that this is one of the rare parables that Jesus goes on to explain it himself. So when that happens, you wonder what you have to say, because Jesus has finished the job for you. That's the first reason. So I wonder what to say. Will I say Jesus was wrong to interpret it this way, or what? That's the first one. The second one is, if you look at the different soils, I was saying to myself, does this point to the controversial idea of predestination? Because once you're bad soil, you're bad soil. Once you're rocky ground, you're rocky ground. Is there no redemption for rocky ground? Is there no redemption for thorny places where the seed falls? I was struggling with that. So I tried to understand it further. And one of the things that I came to understand is that when Jesus was preaching about the different soils, he was saying that this soil, he was not saying that these soils are fixed. What he was saying is that at different times in our lives, we can be different soils because of circumstances around us. Right now, if you came from home and you quarreled with your husband or your wife or your sibling, your ground could be hardened today to receive the word, because you're full of these other tensions within you. And your ground becomes rocky, or it becomes a hardened ground. So when we preach, when we listen to the word, it will go through like that, because you're busy, stressed with that quarrel, the argument you had in the morning. If you lost a job, same thing. Your heart can be hardened to receive the word. So these different souls are with us in different circumstances. We're not just one good soul and it's done. Sometimes we are good souls. Sometimes we do receive the word and we can actually be transformed. But other times the word comes on us and it bounces off because of these different challenges that we have around us. That's what happens. So different souls at different times. And Jesus knows exactly that people are going to be different souls at different times. Because these same people he's preaching to, the same people that he heals, the same people that he feeds, feeding the 5,000, are the same people that at the end of it all, they're shouting, crucify him. Hard soil. The same people. He's changing, the shifting different types of soils and circumstances that make us vulnerable in many different ways. And that we have to be very much aware of this. Now, for us to understand further this parable, we need to understand the context within which it was said. If you go back to chapter 12, you see there that Jesus is already at tension with the Pharisees. And there you'll hear them accusing him that he's healing using the power of Beelzebub, the power of the demon. That's how he's working these miracles. He's already clashing with them. And if you go further again to chapter 14, there, somewhere there, you also see that Jesus has been rejected by his own people. The point is that Jesus is not worried about the good soil. In this particular one, he's more worried about the hardened ones that he quotes the prophet and said, he already said it, that the hearts of these people is already hardened. The heart of the people is hardened. They don't want even to receive. I think this is now the most important thing for us here. The decision not to receive the word, the decision not to receive grace. We can be hardened, deliberate, and not to want to receive, lest we get changed. We don't want to change. And it's very easy for those who follow football. I think next month they start again. All that nonsense of football. Is it next month? They start again. There's one team that I'm hardened to. I will not accept them. I shall not say which one. Whether they play well or not, I've just decided I won't like these guys. I just can't like them. You can be hardened, actually. You can make a decision just not to want to listen. You can just sit there and not want to. And this is the struggle that Jesus is having with the Pharisees. They've decided not to accept him. It's a decision they've made. This parable is for them. It's not about the good soil. It's about those ones that is quoting the prophet Isaiah and saying, he already said about these people, that they're hardened. They don't want to receive the word. It's a decision. They are like me. When that team plays, even if it wins, it's, these ones, you know. And you can see them as well, the Pharisees. Jesus heals somebody, said, he's Beelzebub. It's Beelzebub, never mind him. He feeds the 5,000, you know, they just decide not to receive. And we can be like that in our lives. In fact, we can be like that with people who are around us. We can be. We can stereotype certain people that we'll never listen to them. We'll never listen, even if they say the good thing, even if they give us good advice, we decide not to listen to them. We just look away. Hard ground. We can harden ourselves, starting with people around us. And when that begins, it's also hard to listen to God. Because God can talk through those people, can give us a message through those people around us to convert them, to convert us. And yet, because we've made a decision about this particular person, whatever he says, I won't listen. This particular person, whatever she says, I won't listen. This is what the parable is all about, the parable of the sower. It's about the hardened heart. It's not about the good soil. The good soil is fine, but it's about the hardened heart. The heart that refuses to receive. The hard path where the seed falls on the ground. It stays on top and is taken away by the birds of the air. So we've got to be careful in what ways we are hardened about certain things. Sometimes even opinions, we can be hardened about opinions and refuse to change. We can be hardened about certain narratives. We can be hardened about certain stereotypes of people. We can close off the word of God in many ways and become hard ground. And when we hear the word of God, it just falls on top and goes to waste. I think that's what we need to think about, that in all this, really this parable is about the hardened heart. It's not about the good soil. It's not about the good soil. It's about the hardened heart. And one of the things we should be grateful for that we see, that we hear in this parable, is the generosity of the sower. The generosity of the sower. That is, he's got plenty, and he sows everywhere. He does not undermine any place. He's cast everywhere. The bounties, the generosity of the sower is very striking. That Jesus, knowing all these guys, how they are attention with him, he never gives up on people. He's still preaching to them. He knows the same guys are going to gather and say, crucify him, but he doesn't give up on these people. He doesn't give up on the disciples. He knows that they are weak, but he doesn't give up on them. The generosity of the sower. He's generous. He knows how weak we are, but he's generous. I think that's what should console us today. That yes, we are weak, but here is a sower who is generous. He sows out his word. He spreads out his word. Whatever we think, whatever we do, our stereotypes, or whatever, he continues. Even today, he has continued to spread out the seeds amongst us. How many are we rocky ground today? I don't know. How many are thorny soils today? I don't know. But the sower doesn't stop. The sower is a generous God. So today, we're grateful that, yes, we can be weak, but come to think of it, we have a generous God.